All right, Shalom. This is Brother Nahayi from the GMS Orlando camp. I want to start off by giving all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakah Kodash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, who are the elders of Yasha Allah, and a sincere salutation to all you Akim who are preaching this word and believing this word in all truth and in sincerity. Now, I want to go into this article right here. As trade war heats up, China hints at early petro yuan. So what China is doing is attempting to end the dominance of the uh, the petrodollar, and they're trying to combat it with the petro yuan. Now we're gonna read into some of these articles, and then Lord willing, we can get some precepts. This is as trade war heats up, China hints at early petro yuan. In efforts to make its currency more international and break the US dollar's global dominance, China is in the early stages of paying for oil imports in yuan. Salakia, let me read that again. China is in the early stages of preparing to paying for oil imports in yuan, sources told Reuters. China could launch a pilot program to pay for oil in yuan as early as the second half of this year, according to its sources. Local regulators have asked a few financial institutions to get ready for pricing Chinese oil imports in yuan, the three sources at some of the financial institutions said. One of the sources speculated that China could begin the test with paying in yuan for the oil imports from Russia and Angola, although the source said they had no details of anything so specific being discussed. The Chinese plans to pay in yuan for oil are at early stages, and officials at some of the Chinese state-held oil companies told Reuters they were not aware of such plans. China is the world's biggest oil importer, and the volumes of its imports are closely watched by market analysts to gauge the pace of oil demand growth, the key growth divider of the global oil market. The world's top crude oil importer switching to yuan for oil payments could have potentially huge implications on global oil trade and on the internationalization of the yuan and on the US dollar oil trade. Now, the US dollar is the world reserve currency right now, and in order for countries to get oil, they must trade in US dollars. Now, China being the world's biggest importer of oil, them purchasing oil in US dollars benefits the West greatly. I'm not going to go into a huge detail about this subject because I'm not very, very detail oriented as far as the knowledge of the petro yuan and the US dollar, but I know the overall summary of what's being done. And what's being done is that China is trying to, in essence, remove the middleman, which is the West, from their economy. Not only that, they're trying to allow the petro yuan to be the top currency, because at this point, U.S., um, Russia, and China does not want to play ball with the U.S. any longer, and essentially there's a hand in their pocket with them having to deal in oil, deal in dollars to get oil from Russia. Now, in this article right here, it says China can succeed with petro yuan where Gaddafi failed, killing the U.S. dollar and oil trade, which is what China's trying to do right now. So it says Muammar Gaddafi wanted to shatter the dominance of the greenback in the Middle East by introducing gold-backed dinar, but failed. China has a chance to finish what he started, one industry expert has told RT. Ideas related to oil trade and currencies other than the dollar arose more than once. Some of them were severely suppressed by the United States. One example is Muammar Gaddafi, who proposed the introduction of a regional currency gold dinar and trading oil in the Middle East in this currency. Alexander Igorov, foreign exchange strategist at Teletrade, told RT. And that's the reason that Muammar Gaddafi was killed. He wasn't killed for any other reason than trying to dethrone the dollar from its global dominance. and because of that, he was it tells you, and this is an example that the world knows what's going on. They know that America is infiltrating governments, that they're usurping governments from the inside out using proxy regimes. They're aware of this and they're allowing it to continue, but it's only continuing for so long before now nations are starting to rise up and come against the whore that sitteth upon many waters. This is Revelation chapter 17, verse 15. And he saith unto me, the waters which thou seest, where the whore sitteth, are peoples, and multitudes, and nations, and tongues. And the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh, and burn her with fire. And this is just the beginning of how the process is beginning. Now China's trying to do it economically right now with this PETRO yuan, and like the first article said, it's not gonna take immediate effect, but the effect that it has is a provocation because the U.S. sees that roughly just making it a parable to it that Russia and China is creating a lunch table that they do not want the United States to sit at. And as the world on the world global stage, you're seeing other countries who might have bent to the will of the states or the West. They're starting to see that they now have options. And this is the PETRO yuan is direct defiance to the West and the established order right now. And all of these things are going to lead up to World War III. Matter of fact, let's get that. This is Joel chapter 3, verse 2. I will also gather all nations and will bring them down into the valley of Jehoshaphat and will plead with them there for my people and for my heritage Israel, whom they have scattered among the nations and parted my land. And they have cast lots for my people and have given a boy for an harlot and sold a girl for wine that they might drink. So all of these provocations are a way for the Lord to gather all the nations into the valley of Jehoshaphat that he may plead, which means judge, for the sake of Yasha Allah. So Russia and China are attempting to dump the dollar bill so that they can have a more productive economy and establish themselves as the global power, as the dominant power in the world. Because the established system right now is where the West, United States, is in control of everything, even though the dollar is increasingly losing its value, man. And all of the wars that are being fought are in an attempt to continue the dominance of the dollar. You know, Saddam Hussein was considering taking euros for his oil, and you see what happened to him. Gaddafi was attempting to have a gold-backed dinar, and you see what happened to him. So all of these things are in an attempt to continue the economic dominance that the West has. But the Lord is starting to create these scenarios, and he's starting to take the power away from Esau and the establishment that he's built. And this is just one way. The PETRO yuan, even though it's just being introduced, I think this month, or maybe it was last month, it's direct defiance of the order that's been established economically with the gold with the petrodollar, Salakia. Continuing to read, it says, however, this time an attempt to oust the dollar could be successful. China has launched oil futures backed by yuan, and Beijing has what Gaddafi didn't, according to the expert. Along with the Chinese role in the global economy and the growing interest in the renminbi, China is also protected by a nuclear shield. It can afford to try to shatter the monopoly in oil trade. This will give even more weight to the Chinese yuan. In addition, China's economy is the world's largest consumer of oil, and consequently, all world producers of raw materials will have to reckon with the strategy of the Chinese authorities. Because that's your biggest customer. If you're selling oil, your biggest customer is China. So if your biggest customer says, look, I want to deal in this, if you say no, eventually one of your competitors is going to say yes, and you're going to miss out on the opportunity. So what's happening is that China is a very big player in the world stage, being the number one, the biggest consumer of oil. and the producer of raw materials. It says all world producers of raw materials will have to reckon. So they're gonna have to listen. They're gonna have to hearken unto the wishes of China because they're the biggest oil consumer. Not to mention the various trade deals they have with different countries, including the United States. Gaddafi didn't have this kind of power or pull in the global stage. Neither did Saddam Hussein. But this is another example of what's happening in Revelation's 17th chapter and 16th verse, where the Lord is bringing down the power of Esau, man. And all this is being done for the sake of Yasha Allah. And if brothers want to look into this, it's a beautiful thing because there's a lot of things going on in the world right now, man, that if you have spiritual eyes, you can see it and rejoice, man. You know what? Let me look this up. Uh, I have to Google it. Slovakia. Yeah. Slovakia Akim. So this is Romans 13, verse 11. So this is Romans chapter 13, verse 11. And that knowing the time, that now it is high time to awake out of sleep, for now is our salvation nearer than we believe. And everything that we're seeing play out on the world stage is our salvation being nearer than we believe. We get caught up in the mental battle and the battle in our own personal walks that that there are signs that Yahweh Shemi Shai is showing every day. And sometimes we get caught up in our personal walks and the demons that we're fighting on our own, that we forget that Yahweh Shemi Shai's plan and his algorithm is playing out perfectly. And whenever you get low, it's important to watch. Look to the news and look to some of these things that's going on. Some brothers, the brothers in Dallas, the elder Ariala, and the brother from GMS London Central, both of them brothers are very astute, and very knowledgeable in this economy and trade wars and the World War III algorithm. You should check that out. I just understand the overall view of what's going on, and that's that the U.S. petrodollar is the global dominant world reserve currency, and that China putting this petro yuan into circulation is just the beginning of the challenge of the global dominance that the West has, and that they actually have the firepower and the alliances to continue and see this plan all the way through. But we know through prophecy that they're going to be cut short as well because this is the last kingdom. Matter of fact, Daniel chapter 2, verse 40. And the fourth kingdom shall be strong as iron, for as much as iron breaketh in pieces and subdueth all things, and as iron that breaketh all these, shall it break in pieces and bruise. And whereas thou sawest the feet and toes, part of potter's clay, and part of iron, the kingdom shall be divided, but there shall be in it of the strength of the iron, for as much as thou sawest the iron mixed with miry clay. Here we go. And as the toes of the feet were part of iron and part of clay, so the kingdom shall be partly strong and partly broken. And whereas thou sawest iron mixed with miry clay, they shall mingle themselves with the seed of men, but they shall not cleave one to another, even as iron is not mixed with clay. So you're seeing these nations, they've all did these global trade deals, they've all did all of these things, but they're not cleaving to each other because it's not the will of Yahweh Shemi Al Shah. The will of Yahweh Shemi Al Shah is to establish the kingdom of Yasha Allah. And he's using these trade wars and these economical provocations to bring all of these nations down to the valley of Jehoshaphat that he may plead for his nation. So I just wanted to go into that briefly. And if brothers want to look into it, like I said, World War III algorithms in GMS Dallas in class 3, is a very good series of videos by them brothers on the actual details of the economic trade wars, as well as the actual proxy wars that are going on. So with that, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Bakah, Kodash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, who are the elders of Yasher Allah, and a sincere salutation to all you Akim who are preaching this word and believing this word in all truth and in sincerity. All right, Shalom.